Welcome to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. And today we have the very honorable Matt Thelen here. Is it Thelen or Thelen?
Thelen. You actually got it right that time. This is the first time in many tries that you got it right.
I had Adam Thelen on my fantasy football team for a long time. So I usually, got a Thelen and some other jokes about my team name. But Matt comes to us from more of the corporate structure world, and he's going to talk to us about the evolution of a platform called Attorney Share, about how the future looks from a technology standpoint, of how lawyers are going to be doing referrals to one another, and kind of how the landscape is shifting, from an insider standpoint of being the CEO of a technology company and just being in the room with a lot of other executives. So Matt, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, happy to be here. I appreciate the time.
Yeah. So, but you started off as like on the dark side, didn't you?
Well, I like to think of it as the light side and you're the dark side. But yes, I started off in the corporate world.
No, before that, my friend.
Before that.
You remember, where was your first job?
Oh, yes. Before that, I was in the very dark side. Very, very dark.
Very dark.
It's a very dark time in my life. I graduated law school and went to a plaintiff's firm.
Defense firm.
Defense firm for a very hot minute, and realized it was not for me. And that I needed to leverage my MBA and focus more on the corporate side.
How long did you last?
I was there for about 6 months, and then the partner that led the entire transactional practice, because I always knew I wanted to do transactional work, the partner that led the transactional group actually left the firm and took his entire book with him. And I decided this is a good sign for me to move on with my life and enjoy working a little bit more than what I was doing.
Yeah, 6 months is a good time to get out. If you're there for more than a year, your blood actually boils.
Yes, exactly
you lose
right.
time off of your life. So Matt, tell us about, some of the, when you say corporate, like a lot of our listeners and viewers here are a lot of lawyers. Some may or may not understand the business of law, and you're very, very excellent at the business side of things. What do you think that some law firms, let's go on the law firm side because you're dealing out with law firms now. What are some things that law firms could be doing better to be better at business?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to think about opportunity costs and every time you're running a business. And for attorneys, the biggest opportunity cost, if you're not attracting new clients and not becoming a better attorney or servicing those clients, then you're wasting time and wasting money. So in order to become more efficient, I think you need to leverage technology as much as humanly possible to take the administrative work off the attorney's plates so that they could focus on what they do best, which is the practice of law.
Yeah, and we had this discussion years ago about, you being the blocking and tackler for a law firm or for whatever. So now that you're, CEO of a technology company and co-founder of one, you're dealing a lot with folks that have firms that have a C-suite.
Correct.
First of all, what is a C-suite? Tell people what that is.
A C-suite are the executives, the CSO, CRO, COO of a company that really hopefully get things done and move the business forward.
Yeah, so a lot of law firms we're seeing, more sophisticated ones, have either an operator or an entire C-suite that are running the business for the firm.
That's right. And that frees up the attorneys to focus on, like I said, the practice of law where they could have the biggest impact.
Yeah, and being a lawyer, you also, before taking on this role, had taken companies public before. You kind of walk us through that journey, so just people understand what your background is and how you come from a different angle.
Yeah, it's a long and winding road here. So I was a JD MBA. As we mentioned, I went to a defense side litigation firm for a very short period of time, and then quickly realized I was not cut out for it. So I went into actually a strategy role that was somewhat hybrid finance and legal up in San Francisco. Found myself working with a lot of startups, and I just gravitated to that world and really enjoyed the problem solving that came with working with early stage businesses. So I transitioned into a startup as part of a Series A.
And what's a Series A?
Series A is typically the first real institutional round of financing. It's come downstream a little bit where there's now Series Seed. But if you have a Series A, it's usually a large institutional round led by a venture capital group. And so when I joined my first startup as part of their Series A, it was led by a blue chip venture capital fund called Bessemer Venture Partners that really wanted they wanted an adult in the room, for lack of a better term. So they brought me in to oversee kind of the regulatory side.
And then who was the adult?
Good question. I still don't know to this day. But I had the pleasure of working there for a long time and was able to lead that company from Series A through the IPO. And I just fell in love.
IPO is going public.
Going public, yeah. And we went public on the New York Stock Exchange. And I just fell in love with the process of building businesses kind of from the ground floor up. And I don't think I'll ever do anything else.
Yeah. And, and just talking to you, different conversations about, as lawyers, we just try to fall into the business aspect of it, just figure it out as we go. But I think a lot of smarter firms and lawyers are realizing that they could have a non-lawyer be the operator for their firm.
That's right.
Right. So we see a lot of that with, the conversations that we've been in with firms in, for instance, Arizona, which allows law firms to be owned by non-lawyers with certain technicalities, but it's there and it presents itself. And they're just so the world's aware, for those who are watching or listening, it's turning into a completely different landscape. That's nationally, because a lot of these firms are marketing law firms. They're marketing firms that now have private equity money behind them that are owning the law firm, acquiring all of the cases, and now here we are.
That's right. It's I think the landscape has shifted dramatically over the past 5 years or so, and I think it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle with that. So I'd expect this to be the new norm.
And it's kind of some people think private equity ruins things. Some people think it could be a very good thing. Some people think venture capitalists, which I call vulture capitalists. Some people in the legal landscape paint them as evil characters, right?
Yep.
Give us the pitch as to how they can be used for good.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously outside the money, which is always helpful when you're growing or scaling a business, I think that they will provide some oversight and some rigor to any business, which as painful as it can be is generally a good thing. You have someone holding you accountable that you, for better or worse, have to report to some degree. And I think that makes you a better operator and makes you more focused. And I also think that there are resources that they have that the individual operator does not have. They can open doors for you that otherwise you would not be able to open yourself. They can make introductions.
For instance, like a law firm owner, they say they're a trial lawyer, the litigation lawyer, and they're like, I know how to win cases. I know how to give legal advice. How can these people help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they solve a lot of the same problems. And when you have a portfolio of companies, there's underlying themes that go through each of them, and they end up seeing the same problems over and over again. So once you've experienced how to solve a problem, you can use that same playbook to help solve it for someone else, and you would then have access to those playbooks. So when you need to say, hey, I don't know what to do in this case, you could go to your venture capitalist, your private equity group, and be like, have you ever dealt with this before? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes, and they'll be able to give you advice and guidance.
And they come in from a business structure standpoint.
Correct.
Where it's here's the people that can help solve this problem for you. If you want to acquire more cases, here's another client of ours that used these people very successfully.
That's right.
And by the way, here's the capital to be able to use it.
That's exactly right.
So it allows lawyers, if done the right way, allows lawyers to practice on what they're very good at doing, which allows them to talk to clients more, which allows them to advocate better for their clients, be in the courtroom and actually litigate the cases.
100%.
And the stuff that they're shitty at, like operating a firm, they can have
not
somebody
always,
else do.
Not always.
But it's very, very rare to have somebody be able to do both. It's hard.
It's hard to do both. They're very.
Because you're running two different companies.
You're running two different companies, and it's a very different type of mindset too. I've noticed that from my time in both finance and in the legal world. It's just you approach problem solving different ways. It takes different skill sets to be successful in each.
Yeah. So, one of the companies that you founded is Attorney Share, which I see is kind of bridging that gap between if private equity is going to be here and they're going to acquire cases, and you still need to have those best of the best lawyers available to them.
That's right.
How's that going to come down?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's Attorney Share solves a lot of problems, but in this specific use case that you mentioned, what we want to be able to do is provide access to the best attorneys throughout the country for the people that have cases that need someone to work them. What we found is that there was a lot of people essentially acquiring cases and sourcing clients, but didn't have the right network to service those clients. And what we're hoping to achieve with Attorney Share is to find the best attorneys to represent each individual client so that those clients get the best representation they can.
Yeah, and just this morning, somebody DM'd me who's a lawyer in New York that I know. He thanked me for Attorney Share because he got access to like the best lawyer who I didn't even know was on the platform. He's one of the best lawyers, period, trial lawyers in Texas, who they collaborated on a medical malpractice case that he would have never otherwise had, let alone monetize the referral fee. And he got like his client the best person. And I mean, that's kind of the dream.
It's the dream for the client, and it's the dream for the attorney as well, where they want to work with the best of the best, and they want to make sure the client gets the best representation possible. The other thing I've noticed since founding Attorney Share is that, and I wouldn't have thought of it before we started, is that what it is allowing us to do is this democratizing the legal industry in a way that hasn't happened in the past. And what I mean by that is that each individual attorney, when they're sending out referrals, they're only as good as their own referral network. And so I only know so many people. You only know so many people. You know a few more people than I know, but you only know so many people. And so when you're trying to find other attorneys throughout the country, not only is it very challenging for you, but for people outside of your network, it's very hard to access your network. You're a very accessible person, but it's still hard to break into those referral networks. And what ends up happening when that happens over and over and over again is you run into the same, for lack of a better term, old boys club, where these are the attorneys that get all the cases because they know each other. Their dad was an attorney. They went to whatever prestigious law school they went to, so they get all the cases. What then ends up happening is you have this underrepresented group who maybe are first-time attorneys, families didn't practice law, or whatever it may be. They're not able to access the referral networks, so they're not able to get cases, and they're not able to grow as an attorney. Whereas with Attorney Share, we're hoping to democratize that and allow everybody to have equal footing and equal access to the cases.
Yeah, and it becomes, like it's easier to find people that you want to work with.
That's right.
And two, that your client might appreciate better to represent them.
100%.
A lot of times a client wants somebody that grew up like they did, that are the same like-minded person as them, and they don't want that old boys club lawyer. They want maybe a lawyer that only has 10 cases that can concentrate on them. And I think this is where solos and small firms can win because they can be specialized in their skill set, don't have to pay for the large marketing fee, which they can't really compete with because of private equity coming in large lead generators having like blank checkbooks to acquire leads. They can just literally sit as being a really good lawyer and have cases teed up to them on Attorney Share.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. They don't have to spend any money to evaluate the cases. They don't have to see, I need to go do a billboard or whatever it is. And the other thing we've noticed is that certain attorneys, it's just not the right case for them for whatever reason. Yep. So a case comes into the Simon Law Group, it's not the right case for the Simon Law Group.
But you have functionality on the platform where it's not just a lawyer on there. They could have their case manager, they could have their partners, other lawyers.
That's exactly
see
right.
all the cases.
That's right. So there's visibility throughout the entire law firm on all of the cases that are both inbound and outbound. At the end of the day, it's the attorneys making the decisions on the referrals. But what we've allowed is for the administrative side to be handled by the administrative team and the support team
it's all lawyer to lawyer, right? All
That's
law
right.
firm to law firm.
All law firm to law firm.
And then has the ability to kind of do your deal, accept your deal, track the status of it. Has a dashboard where you could see who's your best referral source, how many referrals are out there. So no more, handshake deals, no more emails trying to find what happened. It's all just one place. So it'll solve a lot of problems.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you get to be able to understand which referrals you have pending and be able to go to a single source of truth to understand when those cases were referred, when they should be expected to settle, all the economics of the referral, as well as client details, contact as well.
And not just PI or mass tort cases?
Everything. Not just everything. I mean, we're currently focused on consumer litigation currently, but the plan is to expand that into other practice areas as we continue growing.
So then how does, we've seen other platforms that, try to take a percentage of the fee or pick who you're going to work with. How does Attorney Share make money?
Yeah, so it's free to refer cases out as the referring attorney. It only costs you anything if you are accepting cases off of what we call the marketplace. So if you send a proposal to a referring attorney and they accept, then it costs $300. We never take a cut of the client's fees. We don't think that it's our place to participate in the attorney's fees. And the decision of who gets the case is 100% on the referring attorney's side. So we don't place the cases, we don't direct the cases.
Free choice.
Free choice, free market. We think that that is the way that the client gets the best representation and the referring attorney has the best partner for them on their case.
Yeah. So, and then what about if, that's the public marketplace? If I know my referral network who I'm going to send cases to, I know we have the waterfalls where you can do right of first refusal. If somebody knows they want to refer me a case, I send them a link just to send the case in one time into attorney share, and they already know they're working with me. What does that cost?
It's free. It's free for everyone involved. Exactly. And we don't want to disrupt your guys' existing referral networks. We know that you've spent a long time building those. Really, actually, what we've done is given you a tool to make that more efficient. There's no more shopping of a case to multiple people within your network saying, hey, let me give you the details of this case for 10 minutes only for you to tell me that you don't want it. We've created an automated system that what you mentioned is waterfalls. It's a sequencing system that allows you to shop it to your existing network and saving you time and energy on placing those cases.
So if I were to say no, if it was too small of a case or outside of our wheelhouse, it would automatically go either a time trigger or be saying no. We'll go to their number 2 choice, number 3 choice, and then into the public so anybody can take a look at it and see if they're interested in the case.
That's exactly right. And that's how we think we get the best representation for the client.
All right, now let's switch over to like technology founder head space, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're in the room with a lot of these tech founders, CEOs, C-suites, and because you do integrations with all of them.
Yep.
All the big players. So if I go on Clio system right now or Lead Docket, I can click a button, push a case directly into attorney share, and then out if I accept it.
That's right.
Now, talk to me about like when you're in these rooms, are they excited about it? Or are they like, oh my God, you're taking it away from us. If I'm on like CasePeer and I send a case to somebody that has Litify.
Yeah.
Are they like, well, what the heck? I don't want to send some case to Litify.
No, fortunately for us, the conversations we've had with the case management platforms, they've all been very receptive to what we're doing. And they really view it as enriching their current product offerings to their customer base because they know that everyone has different case management platforms. And there's no single player in the space that controls a massive amount of the market share. And so in order for attorneys to collaborate effectively within the industry, you need to be able to have cross functionality between the case management platforms.
Yeah, it gives them more. And I was, if any, watching or listening, you should be on some sort of case management platform, even if you're 100%. A solo, because you got to build for scale. If you get bigger, you have a place for all your data to live and easy to push things, back and forth. And one of the other things, before I forget to mention, we talk about, the non-lawyer owned law firms in Arizona, for instance. One of the beauty things of it is a lot of them that were just selling leads to these volume shops, people doing 1,000 cases a month, not really paying attention to the client. Well, what they could do now is they can use attorney share to ask for a percentage of the case. And you would think they'd be incentivized to get the highest percentage that they can return because they find the best lawyer. So if you're gonna go get a case to somebody for a third or 25% of the fee, wouldn't you want the best?
Absolutely.
You give the best in interest, right?
But that's why it's important that it remains a free market as well, because as the referring attorney, I want to work with the best attorney. And sometimes that might mean me accepting a lower percentage than what the attorney that I'm partnering with was originally willing to offer. And so by partnering with the best, not only do I get the best partner for the case, but the client gets better representation at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I found it's been so much easier for lawyers across the country to find our firm and give us right of first refusal on some of these cases. And then for us to find a specialist for any practice area across the nation. I think it covers almost every state now, right?
Every state, 70 plus practice areas. So if you need a client or you need an attorney for some specific matter in a state that you don't have a good network for, that's what the platform is exactly designed to do.
Yeah. So what's the, vision board? I know it's been a labor of love.
It's been a labor of love.
Growing quickly.
I think the goal for the next 12 months is continue to iterate on product and make it as functional as possible and to make it as efficient as possible for attorneys to refer and accept cases. I think we have grand visions of where we could take the business over the next several years, but I think for now, our core focus is really improving the product day over day.
Yeah, I know in the future when I offer, financing both for the client and for the case through the platform, again, everything's tracked, so it's a lot easier. the ability to have, hey, do you need a solution to handle all of your lien negotiations? Do you need a solution to have them seen by a doctor like today, right?
That's right.
All of that should be built in and baked in, but it takes time.
I got off one of those calls this morning, and where I want the product to go is very far, and there's a lot of work to get there, but we'll get there.
And outside of the C-suite, several engineers are helping you get there full time.
Oh yes, we have a great team they're doing all the heavy lifting. I just sit here on podcasts with people like you.
This is just a conversation. I didn't even know we were recording.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a flask here that says bourbon approved. So, Matt, one day we're going to be able to set a film for you to be able to tell your life story, because I think it's interesting people to be able to hear it when we get to bourbon approved. But we do that over liquor, not coffee.
Much more interesting
not
over
coffee.
Liquor for sure.
Not coffee. Yeah. So, and I know. So, how do you do? Do you have an ability to vet these lawyers that are on attorney share? Kind of, what does that look like?
Yeah, we do an initial screening to make sure that they are in good standing with their state bar, that there's no disciplinary actions pending against them, that they have sufficient malpractice coverage. We want to make sure that we are doing a certain level of screening. What we're not doing is rating or evaluating the attorneys. Again, we're not a attorney rating system, so we don't want to participate in that space, and we want it to be as free market as possible. We have discussed and will probably implement in the very near future a peer-to-peer rating system or an endorsement system similar to LinkedIn, where you can give recommendations on other attorneys. And obviously, if Bob Simon tells me that Joe is a great attorney, I'm going to take that very seriously. And I think that will be more of the strategy as we roll out the rating system.
Yeah, and for the more higher vetted lawyers, I know there's a Justice HQ badge.
That's right.
For the higher level community, which I'm one of the co-founders of, but we are the mission to train not only the best of the best get let in that are super screened, but
That's
to
right.
train them to make sure that they continue to optimize themselves as lawyers, as business persons, as human beings. And then if you have that badge on attorney share, again, it's free choice, but we're hoping that if you select somebody with them, that they're going to be in this cultivation think tank program.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and importantly, ethical attorneys as well that are going to provide value both to their client, but as well as to the legal community as well.
And I love it. Well, Matt, thanks for coming on. We're going to do a deeper dive with you when we get to Bourbon and Proof, and I would love to hear from us, 3 months from now with all the add-ons to attorney share with the roadmap, because every day seems to be a different day where it goes, because there's 50 plus cases going through the marketplace. Now this is May 7th. In a month, it's going to probably be a lot different, but here we are.
I'm hoping it's 100 plus cases a day in 30 days here. And equally as important, I'm hoping we have some great new product features launched in the next 30 days and continue to make it as robust of a platform as possible.
Love it strong. Well, Matt, thanks for coming on this episode of the Justice Team Podcast on the Justice Team Network. You can find us on the YouTube channel, Justice Team Network, or our Apple playlist, or justiceteamnetwork.com.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
And how do they find you? What's the best way?
You can find me on LinkedIn. My name's Matt Thelen again. And then you could find my Instagram as well. It's Corks and Contracts. It's my handle.
Corks and Contracts?
Yeah. We'll touch on that in Bourbon and Proof as well.
I love it. Well, we'll leave a little mystery behind that.
There you go.
Wow. We had Mario on here earlier, and his was... I can't say it.
I don't even want to know where you're going with that one.
That was his probably OnlyFans handle. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We hope you learned a little something here today.